I just thought of something interesting. I'm not sure if this already exists, but imagine a game specifically designed to be speedrun. Like, barely any bugs or exploits get patched out, besides the ones that make it functional, and there's like hundreds of thousands of mechanics and paths that you can take. Everyone would spend months trying to find the most optimal strat, but the game itself would be like super quick for the average player. I don't know, this kinda seems like a dumb idea. After all, what makes speedrunning so great is seeing an average game being exploited for the sake of time. I think designing a game with speedrunning as a priority wouldn't have the same charm. This is a message I woke up to from one of my closest friends, and it got me thinking. Like, a lot. So I thought I'd put all of my thoughts into one video here and see what you guys think. Can you craft a theoretically perfect speed game? First off, I'd like to take a look at some games I believe were created with speed in mind, at least somewhat. Games like Neon White, Crystal Call, or Lunistis is what this makes me think of. These games are all platformers, they all have an in-game timer, and their speedruns are mostly pretty basic. You're meant to be able to schmoove in these games, even if to varying degrees, and what comes of this is usually a lot of playtime where you can only play the intended way on the intended path. A few exceptions, sure, but this is mostly how it goes. Already these games are a little different than the original hypothetical, where the game includes many different paths and intentional bugs, but I do believe the games that I'm talking about here were developed with some sort of speedrunning in mind. You move quickly, you have abilities that move you quickly, and when all is said and done, it looks and feels really good. But are they perfect speed games? Obviously, perfect in this case is very subjective, but let's take a quick look at games I've seen held up as perfect speed games by their communities. Super Mario 64, GoldenEye 64, Sonic Adventure 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Mega Man X, Breath of the Wild. These are just a few off the top of my head that are incredibly highly revered in their online space, and for good reason. After all, my buddy did say what makes speedrunning so great is seeing an average game be exploited for the sake of time, and I think he's right on the money with that thought. Super Mario 64 isn't a speedrunning titan because it's an old Nintendo game. It's so enjoyable because watching this regular-ass adventure game has turned into watching time-saving strategies in every waking moment of gameplay. The history behind this game and all of its tricks, new or old, is the largest driving factor to these games in my opinion, and probably the only reason the world records are seen as valuable as they are in the first place. So much time and effort from so many people in the community got poured into this silly kids game and turned it into something nearly unrepeatable. It's one of those games that, almost despite what your speedrunning taste in games is, you'd probably enjoy watching or playing it. And I firmly believe that goes for every example of a perfect speed game that I've used here. After all that though, this video doesn't have a big conclusion. I don't know what you expected me to say. The crux of this entire video is based on an opinion that flopped on itself before I even had time to reply to it, so calling anything a truly perfect speed game is out of my power level realistically. But in my opinion, you can't do it. I think it could be possible that someone creates a game that's meant to be broken and speedrun in a variety of ways, and that it's pretty good and holds on to a community. But I do think it's simply impossible to go into a project with the goal of making a highly revered speed game and actually achieve perfect speed game status. Then again, maybe it just takes time after a game's release to see whether or not it could actually hit that mark. After all, I'm pretty sure people didn't see Super Mario 64 as a perfect speed game before years and years of development had come and gone. Perhaps a strong community and an interesting history is all it really takes. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know I was kinda just spewing my thoughts out for this video, so spew some of your own for me. Maybe you know of games that were meant to be broken and exploited for the sake of time that I don't. Maybe you've got some thoughts that didn't occur to me in the writing process of this script. Whatever it is, I think there's a lot of discussion around this to be had, even if just for hypothetical's sake. As for now though, my name is Myloe, and I'm out.